Families in Boulder, Colorado are in mourning tonight after a man walked into a local grocery store and opened fire. President Biden has already called for the Senate to pass 2 House bills which help close loopholes in the background check system, but Republican senators are pushing back.
What happens in this committee after every mass shooting is Democrats propose taking away guns from law-abiding citizens because that's their political objective. But what they propose, not only does it not reduce crime, it makes it worse. If you want to stop these murders, go after the murderers.
Joining us now, Republican strategist Amanda Mackey and Democratic strategist Kelly Hyman. Amanda, let's start with you. Do you see either of those House bills passing in the Senate?
Look, I think that so long as Democrats are in charge of every lever of the federal government, the Second Amendment is under direct assault and threat. But the reality is that there are senators who are smart enough and wise enough to know that the Second Amendment is your constitutional right to bear arms, and they are going to aim to protect that.
Right, I get that, but a lot of this stuff is talking about before the sale, Amanda. A lot of it are background checks and other things. I get your point to the banning of weapons, but a lot of what we've heard is what would stop some of this beforehand.
Look, in 2015, Marco Rubio said none of the proposals in Congress would do anything to stop a mass shooting. And the liberal Washington Post 100% wholeheartedly agreed with him. They gave him the Geppetto Award for that. So look, that's the reality. The proposals in Congress aren't going to make a difference when it comes to mass shootings. And Senator Cruz said it. You're keeping law-abiding citizens from their rights. And so, look, any of these proposals, whether they're before the sale or after, it is an infringement on the Second Amendment right. And your question was, is this going to pass in Congress? And I believe in the Senate, it will see a very uphill battle with the likes of Kyrsten Sinema, who comes from a state where that would not be popular to do, or Joe Manchin from West Virginia.
Kelly, is now the time for Democrats to push something through, or can they?
Absolutely. Now is the time. First and foremost, my thoughts and prayers go out to the people in Boulder, Colorado that have been affected by this, especially the officer that lost his life with the 7 children. My thoughts and prayers are with you. And absolutely, now is the time. Now is the time to bring forth the gun control. There is no one trying to take someone's fundamental Second Amendment right. That's just a false narrative. As you stated, there needs to be background so that people don't go by on loopholes. The alleged shooter family didn't even know that he had a gun. And so we need to make sure that people are protected so this doesn't happen again.
Amanda, Republicans are moving some of their own changes. What are they? What can you tell us about those? I know Ted Cruz mentioned some of them today, along with Grassley of Iowa.
Look, you know, the debate has always been for years on mental health. And as a healthcare attorney, I can tell you the mental health system in our country is broken. And it is very difficult, even with people who have health insurance, to be able to get a mental health provider. And so I think that where really Congress needs to focus on is how to improve access to mental health. This is something that's long talked about, but they really haven't put the strength and the power and money and funding behind that. I think that is an important step because, look, the other proposals that are out there, you want to extend the background checks, that doesn't make a difference. Most of these background checks can be done within 24 hours anyway.
Kelly?
So these...
Oh, go ahead. Kelly, what about that?
Well, I would disagree with you. It's a safeguard. It's another way to make sure that this doesn't happen again. A majority of Americans do support gun control. No one's trying to take away any Second Amendment right, but we want to make sure that it's safe and this doesn't happen again for the American people. Enough is enough. We've had enough shootings, and now is the time to act.
To that point, though, I'm not sure any of that would have impacted this most recent case, at least. I don't know if there was any mental health involved. He was able to get a gun 6 days ago.
Well, look, I mean, you know, last week we had a shooting rampage in Atlanta, and someone said, you know, they had an addiction of some sort, and that's what compelled them to do that. But look, I think that we all need to take a look at ourselves and be introspective here. You know, on a daily basis, there are, billions of tweets that are going out attacking each other, members of Congress, attacking each other. And I think that, the mental health piece is important, but also the humanity piece is really important. I think that that is something that is lost on this. The government is not the solution to everything. I think that the Democrats are just always excited to go straight to the government. We're going to do more. We're going to infringe more on your rights. Look, 15 people died over the weekend in Chicago, one of the cities with the strongest, most restrictive gun laws in America. That doesn't make a difference. We need to look introspectively and figure out how we move forward as a country so that these things aren't happening. And I think mental health is right at the crosshairs of that.
I totally agree. Kelly, let's switch to the next spending package. How do you sell another $3 trillion?
Well, I think it's important to think what the plan proposes. And so I think that's key. I mean, we are a great country, but we also have to think about our future generations and about our economy and also about our environment as well. And so one way is the infrastructure is to build back better, is to start working on the bridges and the roads. And I'm hopeful and optimistic that the Republicans and Democrats can work together. This should be something, it should be a political issue. This should be bipartisan legislation to help us.
Let me get you both quickly on another issue, if we can. The House possibly overturning that congressional election in Iowa. The Democratic candidate for Iowa's 2nd District, Rita Hart, wants the House to overturn it. 22 ballots, they say, weren't counted, even though they should have been. The Republican candidate, Representative Mariannette Miller Meeks, ended up winning by just 6 votes. So, Kelly, this is making a lot of Democrats squirm.
Well, not for me. I believe in democracy, and I believe that every eligible vote should count. And the person, Ms. Hart, who brings it, has the burden of proof to establish that those 22 votes were proper. And so I believe if she wins based on that, absolutely. And if she did, then the other person wins, no matter if they're a Republican or a Democrat.
Do you think they overturn it, Amanda?
I hope not. I mean, there would be a lot of egg on the Democrats' face if this comes up for a vote and Democrats don't vote for it. Look, you're going to have Democrats that are moderates that have to go back into their districts. Maybe these are districts Trump won in, and they're going to have to explain their vote. This has not happened since 1938. Since when does a San Francisco politician get to dictate what the voters in Iowa get to do? And what they did was they elected Miller Meeks. She was seated. Nancy Pelosi congratulated her. It's over. And they can't seem to be okay with this. Now they'll go after Trump and say, how dare he say that the vote was rigged or that the election was, stolen from him, but they'll do it themselves. What hypocrisy.
Well, they argue that they have the constitutional ability to do that here where we didn't in the presidential race. But it's certainly an interesting debate, and we will see what happens in the end. Democratic strategist Kelly Hyman and Republican strategist Amanda Mackey, always great to see you both. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.